Steve, big week, big game, goes without saying what the stakes are, all they can be going into this.
Well, you're right, it's a huge game for obvious reasons. And over the years, the playoffs have been dramatic and probably they've been going 30 years now, I believe. So somebody told me, I was shocked at that. But they've made the end of the season a really, truly great spectacle. So, a big game, big occasion, and you can obviously detect that when you see everybody in the room.
How does it rank for you, having had so many massive games in your career? Where does this one rank for you?
Well, all big ones are great ones, and big ones are the ones that you always remember. As long as they go your way. And usually after you've played so many, it's the ones that don't go your way that stick out in your memory. It's incredible. But you're hoping that we can all enjoy the occasion. Of course, to really enjoy it, you have to win. And we'll do our utmost. We've got a squad that has been there before in the last couple of years. Let's hope that's a bit of an advantage. We've got some good players, and let's hope we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Can you be sure that those good players will turn
Well,
up?
if that's been our Achilles heel, I'm quietly confident that Wembley is the big stage, because the one thing about playing in the Championship week in and week out is it's totally demanding, and if you're not quite there, then you become unstuck. And usually the time we've been coming unstuck is when you have to play Saturday, Tuesday, for example. The intensity, maybe not get there, but we've had 10, 11 days to prepare. Everything's gone well in that respect. Got a full, fit, healthy squad to choose from. So let's hope we can go and perform on the big stage.
What's the frame of mind of this group of players going into this game? Because over the two legs of the playoffs, we really saw the Jekyll and Hyde side of this team.
Well, that's been us all season, unfortunately. That little bit of inconsistency is why we didn't challenge Middlesbrough, Burnley and Derby in the last 6 weeks of the season. That Achilles heel we have of, thrown that curveball in, as I put it, and we nearly threw the biggest one of all here. But when you analyse it afterwards, Derby played very well on the night, and they are a very, very good side in this division. And probably the same goes for Derby too. On paper, when you play against them, they're a very, very good side. That little bit of inconsistency, when it really, really matters in the Championship, has cost us, and that's the reason why.
How do you expect to maintain a level head, if you like, come kick-off time? Because of all at stake, the emotions that go through 90 minutes, maybe 120. You've been in many big games, both as manager and player. I don't think you've ever been in a Championship playoff final, have you?
I have once, which was successful, went to penalties. So 14 years ago, I'm led to believe. Seems like a lifetime ago, but how do you handle it? It's like any other big game. Once you wake up on the Saturday morning, you wake up and you put yourself into action. You start. It's part of what you do. And I've been fortunate and ended up to 1,000 as a player and something like 800 as a manager. So in amongst that lot, I've had a few big games, and this ranks up with, of course, the biggest one for a long, long time because of what's at stake. If you can get into the Premier League now, it can really secure your club with the amount of money which is washing about. It's quite unbelievable. So for a club like ours, it'd make a huge, big difference.
How has it all changed then over those 14 years from that time you went through on penalties to what's expected now?
Well, of course, everything's expectation. With Birmingham, it was a bit, we come from nowhere, even though they'd lost 3 semi-finals under Trevor. And when I got the job, we stumbled into the playoffs, if you like, but we had a bit of momentum. And it took us to penalties. And we eventually got ourselves up there for a club that hadn't been in the division for 20 years or so. So they're all big games, and how many are you trying to flannel it up and what's this one and what's that one? You need to perform on the big stage. And usually then you need a little bit of luck, bounce of the ball, and you need to be your day. And let's hope it is.
I think 1 or 2 people wouldn't be surprised if this one went all the way to extra time and penalties.
Thanks. You put me through the ringer. And I've not gone through the ringer enough against Derby. If that's it, if that's got to be it, so be it. I said when we played them in, I think it was October, that's the best Sheffield Wednesday team I've seen for a long time. They've quietly gone about their business with new owners, they've got new manager in, new players, a new group of players, and up the top end of the pitch they've got some very, very good players. So I'm not surprised that Sheffield are there. They'll take a huge following. So it should be a cracking atmosphere, and always, as we've said many times, a big occasion.
Carlos Carvalho came somewhat new to the English game. Many of us hadn't heard of him. Were you aware of him before he was?
I have to be honest, I wasn't. But when you look at his CV, then it's, he's been around the block a bit. So he's obviously experienced football in different countries. But certainly he's made a big impression in his first year. Is it his first year? It is.
It is, yeah.
His first year. He couldn't have wished for anything better, really. So it's up to us to make sure that he just gets in the playoffs and doesn't get through to the Premier League.
Any particular player you're wary of? I mean, there's a lot of publicity
Well,
about Forestieri, for instance.
Well, he's one of the outstanding players in the league, so we're aware of that. You have to say Hooper's done extremely well for him since he arrived from Norwich. Two wide lads have got good experience and a good player. So everywhere you look in the squad, if you finish 6th in the division and you've got this far, then you've got good players, and which we will respect, of course. But then again, we've got good players too. So it should have all the makings of a really, really good game.
Do you think it will be an open game or a cagey game, a tight one? Both the league games were, weren't they?
Well, the league games were very, very tight. They dropped off us here and went. Whether that's going to be the same in a one-off and a Wembley occasion, I think, as I've said many times before now, the big word is to perform, and that has got to be the key when you get this far. And you've got to perform on the day at the big stage, on the big level, and make sure the nerves and all the rest of it don't get the better of you. And I'm hoping that in our experience, hopefully that'll stand us in good stead.
How dangerous is Fernando Forestieri? Is he the type of player that you have to make special plans for?
Well, you have to be aware of him because he's got good ability. He was their marquee signing last summer, and I have to say I was a bit surprised that Watford did sell him, because I thought he had a future in the Premier League. Obviously, they've made him available, and Sheffield have bought him. And you have to say he's a bit of the talisman. He's given a free role, and as I've said many times, he's a good player.
Does it help you, this team, that many of this squad have experience of being?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, the more experience you get, usually in big occasions anyway, it helps you. But make no mistake, an experienced player, experienced manager, your nerves and your butterflies, it's only human that you're gonna get yourself in a state with it. It's how you then channel it and how you deal with it and how you manage it. And I'm hoping with the experience we've got, that just gives us the edge.
What's the message you give the players then going into this game?
Well, the one thing, you're always on a big occasion, you've got to enjoy it, because it doesn't come along very often. It's the second time it's happened to the club in 10 years, probably the second time in 100 years of where it stands in history-wise. So the first thing you've got to do is go and enjoy the occasion. And if you've got anything about you, when you do put your slippers on, when it's all done and dusted, then you look back at the big occasions that you've been involved in. And I remember bumping into Michael Johnson, who I had at Derby, was at Derby in Birmingham and played for me at Birmingham, and said to me it was 14 years ago since we got up, and it was the best day of my life in football-wise. So you've got to try and put that across, even though we know it was at stake. But the one thing about a footballer that I've got used to is the one thing they don't worry about when they go out to the pitch is money. All this £200 million game for them is to perform at the biggest stage, and who's going to be the hero if there's going to be one of them. Finally,
from me, away from here, can I get your thoughts on what's happened at Manchester United and the future for Ryan Giggs? A good pal of yours, obviously. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously got a decision to make. We don't know really what's gone on behind the scenes, do we, regarding Ryan? But it seems to think that there's some role for him. It's up to him whether he accepts that role. I think, it's been the worst kept secret for a long, long time now, isn't it? That Josie's coming in there, and it looks from the outside anyway that the chance was too good to miss, really. And let's be fair, if there's a fellow like Jose Mourinho available, then Manchester United have acted. You do feel, though, in all of that, always when a manager loses his job, whether it's Louis van Gaal or even it's Jose Mourinho this year, then you wonder how crazy the world is.
yeah, looking back on it, I'm sure they'll be disappointed again of how it's been handled, because that's not great from a club which always sets the highest standards. But then again, football's a changing world, and the one thing about managers now is we get used to getting the sack, unfortunately. And you know, I think that's now 60. I think that's now 60, and the season's not finished yet. We get beat Saturday, maybe 61.
Well, let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But 60 managers, and I think 5 or 6 are working. So all them lads who are doing pro licenses this year, I think there's 18 on a course which one of my lads is on, and you know, they work extremely hard on it to try and get the chance. And there's this thing in football where it's a roundabout, and these managers just get back on, they don't. So the fallout is pretty horrendous, but unfortunately it seems to be common now that the lifespan of a manager is something like 13, 14 months, which is ludicrous, isn't it?
And you've been here 4 years, I think.
4 years, yeah, and it shows, eh? And it shows.
40.
No, I've had a great time, and been very, very fortunate. We've had a good time. So, of course, we've had some bad times too, but on the whole, we've had a really enjoyable time.
Steve, is this different to a cup final preparation, the fact that you were only there a couple of years ago, because of what's at stake this time?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you can do about a cup final is you can't say to them, go and enjoy yourself. The one thing you're worried about, we're playing the mighty Arsenal, and you don't want your backsides kicked badly at Wembley, of course, on a big occasion. And thankfully we performed on the day terrifically well. But it is slightly different because, you know, a cup final is a cup final, so you can celebrate by getting there. You know, give us a jot if you runners up on Saturday. You know, the stakes are too high, and as I've said, with the TV income now, which is at stake for both clubs, then it's huge because it makes a huge difference. I've seen this club in the last 3-4 years benefit from the payments what we receive, but now what you're talking about is just staggering for a club of our size, and it enables then all the Premier League, all the teams, to have big players, good players. I don't know where they are like, but it enables everybody, and we've just seen the Premier League. Well, Leicester winning it gives everybody a chance. You know, Chelsea finishing 10th, Liverpool finishing 8th, Manchester United finishing 5th. You wouldn't have got that odds a long time ago. So I think it's changing for the better because it gives everybody a little chance. A little bit of a chance. Not a big chance, but a little bit.
But when you talk about nerves and butterflies and everything else that goes with an appearance at Wembley, we've seen how teams capitulate. Obviously, it didn't go great against Derby, but in a way, is that out of the system now? So you can
well, I sincerely hope so.
Hey, mentally.
Look, the last thing we wanted is to concede, and maybe Derby had nothing to play for, really. They've come in here with a free bat that nobody gave them a cat and hell's chance. And to be fair to Derby, which I've seen before from them, on the day they're a very, very good side. And proves to me exactly what the Championship is. And the reason why people are in the Championship and not in the Premier League is they go up and down. The Premier League player performs at the highest level week in and week out, and that's what makes him a Premier League player. A Championship player performs to the level sometimes and can get there, but consistency-wise is always maybe the issue, and certainly we've lacked a little bit of that. I think that's pretty obvious. I'm hoping though on Saturday that we play like we did against Derby at their place, and we played against Rotherham, and we played against Middlesbrough away, and we played like Burnley at home here, because if we do, and we play to our potential, then it's going to take a very good team to stop us, because on our day, we're very good when we play.
Okay. One more question I forgot. You said everyone's fit and available. I take it Alan McGregor's then. Okay?
He's the only doubt. He's the only doubt I've got. The outfield players are okay. He's the only doubt. And it's fair to say if he doesn't train Thursday, then which by all accounts today he was nowhere near. So it looks as if Alan will not make it.
How big a loss would that be?
Well, of course, it's a big loss because he's a very, very experienced, good goalkeeper. The one thing about being in the playoffs, or the position cemented, is we've been able to play Eldon. He's played the 2 semis. He's played 2 league games before that. We've been able to play him in the cup competitions. So I've got no qualms of playing him at all. An experienced goalkeeper who's kept himself in good nick. Of course, you'd like everybody fit. and that goes with Alan too. But in Eldon and Duzan, we've got able replacements, which I'm sure will be okay.